Thanks for staying with us. You're watching The Agenda. Now, it's a time of the year when we will be traveling to go and enjoy December holidays with friends and loved ones. It's not always easy to travel with babies for the first time using any sort of transport, more especially planes, as they can be too much for the babies to handle during takeoff or landing. What do you do when you run out of your chronic medication while you're on holiday? This can prove to be a nightmare if you don't know where to go and what to do. To help us prepare better when traveling this time around, we're joined in the studio by Dr Nandipha Magudumana, the CEO of Optimum Medical Solutions. Nandipha, a very good morning to you, and thanks for coming through this morning.
Good morning, Desiree. Thank you so much.
So what have you got up your sleeve? What sort of suggestions can we give people in terms of traveling this festive season?
You know, traveling this festive season, you need to ensure that you're well prepared and you manage your expectations as you're traveling, whether you're traveling alone or with your family, with babies or the elderly. So particularly to small children and babies, if you're going to be taking a flight, it's very important to make sure that you have medication. If you're anticipating ear pain from children, and having paracetamol or brufen at hand. Okay. That's very important, as well as having some exercises while doing exercises beforehand, practicing and making sure the kids are actually hydrated, drinking plenty of fluids. And the reason is because with swallowing, it helps open the eustachian tube, which is the equalizer pressure when you're taking off or landing. Also, what's important is that you try to motivate the kids to actually stay awake when we're taking off or landing, because when we're sleeping, we don't swallow as much, and therefore that pressure is not equalized.
You're saying that it's important to plan ahead of the trip, and for most people, planning involves making sure that the flight tickets are booked or the car is booked, the car is in good order, and making sure that you've booked accommodation. But you're saying that it's much more than that.
It's definitely much more than that. And especially when, as I said, if you're traveling with kids or you're traveling with your parents or the elderly, always make sure that you also have a first aid kit, because you never know what could happen in the injuries that we could come across. Make sure you're well prepared. So it has a lot of preparation that comes into it.
What do people neglect the most when they're traveling in terms of their health needs?
It's definitely, what I found is that, for example, the elderly, if they misplace their chronic medications, they won't have a backup plan in terms of having a letter or script from their physician or doctor stating this is the medication. So there becomes a panic, I think, because now they have to seek healthcare at a place where they don't have any information that actually shows that they were on that chronic medication.
So some of the ideas that you have given in terms of what to do, what medication to carry, how can that counter the onset of a real medical emergency?
I think when that happens, if there's a real medical emergency, having a first aid kit, it helps you have less stress and panic when it is actually happening. And also with your first aid kit, it's so important to have gloves in the kit, a mouthpiece for CPR, and not only for your family, even for other people that will be around you should there be any medical emergency that takes place.
There's a big conversation going on at the moment about sun protection products and if they're really good for your skin, and if they do what the manufacturers claim that they do. What's the position at the moment?
The position, it's very true, because our sun rays are very harmful towards our skin, and we're exposed to sunlight, and we've got UVB rays as well as UVA rays. And the most important factors you have to take into consideration when you are choosing SPF is that you need to find a broad spectrum sunscreen protection. That means both those UV and UVA rays you are protected from them. And also making sure that you find a water resistant sunscreen, as well as checking for expiry dates, because that's very important. What you find is that people have sunscreen from the previous year, not realizing that you know, it's now 2019.
Does it lose its efficacy?
It does. It does. Wow. And that's very important. And also knowing the times you should stay away from the sunlight. I mean, with global warming, our ozone.
But they're also very pricey, these sunscreen products.
They are, but they give you the best protection. I mean, historically, we only used to only get UVB protection, and only later on they realized that we actually need a broad spectrum, because with the UVA rays they penetrate deeper into the skin, whereas the UVB rays are the rays that only touch the surface of the skin, causing the sunburn. But now it's so critical to make sure that it is broad spectrum, because the UVA they damage the DNA cells in your skin, therefore potentially creating damaged cells and creating skin cancer. So those are the key important parts.
So you were giving tips about what to do when you're traveling with kids or when you're traveling with older citizens, but just generally for everyone, what are the general travel tips related to health when you're on the road?
Definitely when you're on the road, make sure that you stay hydrated. It doesn't matter whether you are road tripping or you are on the airplane.
And some people can misunderstand hydration. We're not talking about alcohol.
No, please, not alcohol or caffeinated drinks. And the reason is because they cause more dehydration. So we want you to be hydrated. And also making sure that you've got emergency medication, whether it's for pain or any antiseptics that you might need, to make sure that you're not carrying any bacteria, because as you know, we'll be touching our kids, eating, therefore causing food poisoning.
Exposed to new environments.
Exactly.
You might not know how healthy or how unhealthy they are.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Such useful information. Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, the CEO of Optimum Medical Solutions.